Hey guys, and welcome to another video here for our channel The Guide. I'm Benjamin, also known as Tess, and today we got the next part of our series, how to defend like an elite player. And today we got a concept that not a lot of Go players follow, and this can be very problematic. And I'm talking about how to maintain the shape and also coordination in your defense. And this not only allows you to be more stable in defense, but also to put more pressure on your opponent. You can already see an example in the background how your defense can look like when you follow this concept, when you try to maintain the shape and coordination. You can see there are no gaps, you can put a lot of pressure on your opponent. And if you're not following this, you get in trouble real quick because you create openings and gaps for your opponent that he can use to create chances and in the end scoring goals. But let me explain this by looking at a defending sequence from a GOAT player. First of all, instead of staying with this player to close down the open man right here, the player will switch to the CDM. With this switch, you don't give your CDM a chance to retreat, but instead he gets pulled out and the defense is immediately weakened. Not a big issue, but the opponent took directly advantage of this opening up front. Now a bit later, instead of using the upper CDM to put pressure on the player in ball possession, there is a switch to the lower CDM and gets pulled away from his position. Now another space is opened and it's super easy for the opponent to play a dangerous pass into the box. Not maintaining and respecting the shape has two major disadvantages. First, you open up space, as we could already see with this example. But second, it also reduces our options to do good player switches, since we move players out of the normal positions. No matter what formation we play, as long as we have 11 players on the pitch, they are somewhat evenly distributed on the pitch. Maybe with some more emphasis on certain parts, more on the defense, more on the attack, more on the wing or in the center. But every player has its role and function. When we move them away to fulfill some other purpose in defense, we might miss them as an option later on. So far you have learned in this series the importance of direction of game as well as defending the open man in space. In this video we want to teach you how you can incorporate these concepts with the aspect of maintaining the shape in your defense. So first of all, we always try to assess the current situation on the pitch with our knowledge about the direction of the game and also identifying the open man and space for the opponent. This will help us to identify the opportunities and therefore next steps of the opponent. Now our goal is to determine not only the best player to accomplish our short-term target to diminish the chances for our opponent, but also account for the current coordination in your team and defense. Whoa, that sounds complicated, but let's just have a look at an example to illustrate this point. The opponent opened up his play with a great switch to the other side. As soon as he turns around after a sprint, I recognize that the direction of the game switched. He's orienting himself towards the center, so I'm about to do a player switch to the center as well. Now I have my center back selected, but since there isn't really an attacker that I can mark or any other clear option, I would have to pull him out really far into the midfield to accomplish anything with my currently selected center back. Doesn't sound like a very good prospect, am I right? So that's why I switch to my right CDM and start to close down the open man right in front of him. Now comes the really crucial part. My opponent plays a clever pass to the other side. This isn't really the territory of my right CDM. So if I would stick with him and pull him to this side, I basically would have two CDMs orientated to this side. With the current situation on the pitch, I can assume that my opponent wants to play up front from this position. So now switching to the other CDM is the much better choice. That way I can keep control in front of him and maybe put pressure on him while my right CDM is still covering the center as well. And as you can see, this immediately pays off when my opponent plays a poor pass right into him. Don't get me wrong, it's not always about knowing exactly what position every player on the pitch plays and that you have to strictly follow this. FIFA is very dynamic and there will be exceptions that we also talk about in the last part of this video. But it's more about the general approach that you should always assess in those situations how your players are currently coordinated on the pitch. Where are they, which players of the opponent's team are they marking, etc. And how you can make use of this in the best way while you try to defend the opponent's attempt of building up his attack or to create chances. It's also the case that the AI of your players can and will bail you out to some extent. They will switch over, take over positions or responsibilities. But every time the AI has to switch over to another attacker, there's a chance for a screw up to happen. For instance, when the AI defender is starting to mark too late, gets in a weird position, etc. Try to reduce those screw-ups by incorporating the understanding of this concept in your decisions and take advantage of a much more stabilized defense. If you're interested in getting even more helpful content to not only improve your defense, but your FIFA skills overall, check out the Guide Plus. The Guide Plus will help you to improve your skill and climb the ranks in the Weekend League and division rivals. Join our exclusive Discord server and get in touch with the creators and other players that are eager to improve and become part of the community. Each week you get 4 posts with the newest tips about gameplay, mentality, tactic and formation, and also FIFA Ultimate Team content. To get an idea of what you can expect from the Guide Plus, you can check out the free post about how to set up your finishes to convert more of your big chances. So if you're interested in that content and want to improve daily to stay on top of your game, then definitely check out the link to the Guide Plus in the description. As I already mentioned, there are exceptions to this, situations at which it will be helpful or just necessary to ignore this concept, at least to some extent. Some of them will occur naturally to you, some others it makes sense to get aware of to handle them better. Most of these situations are with your center backs. You have 2 or 3 of them and usually they are associated with an attacker. Most of the time you try to not swap these associations around, meaning the center back switch the attacker they are marking, as there's always a threat of destabilization of your defensive line when you make those switches. But let's talk about some situations at which this might be necessary. In this situation I was only a little bit too aggressive with my right center back, opening myself up for a simple 1-2 pass. Even though my other center back is associated with his Ronaldo, my only real chance to defend this situation is to run back with my center back, taking over the other attacker. This is what we mean with switching the association from one attacker to another. The downside becomes apparent a bit later when I run back. You see how my other center back is also chasing instead of filling the gap in the center. The whole situation isn't pretty and reveals how troublesome it can be when you switch around like that. But sometimes you just have to stick with it, as this was the only real chance of defending this. In the background you can see some more examples at which such a switch was performed and worked cleaner. This was because the situations weren't as bad and therefore the switch was more controlled. Anyway, such a switch of responsibility can help you to react more quickly to the biggest current threat, especially around by an attacker. It allows you faster to control the player with ball possession or track the run and fill the gap that you might have created before. Other situations at which you might switch around associations and markings are between your center back and fullback. If your opponent plays clever on the wing or you're too risky in your defending, your opponent might get an opening on the wing by outplaying your fullback. Always quite dangerous situations for you in defending. Here it can also make sense to use your center back to confront the opponent on the wing, pulling him more outside to prevent your opponent from rushing through. Your fullback will try to retreat and fill the gap in the center, but as long as this isn't the case, you have to be very cautious with your center back on the wing. In these kinds of situations I try to secure both positions, but more focus on the center, as this provides a bigger threat to you. Understanding and following this concept and the nuances of it will help you to stabilize your defense. You see your players and defense as a whole and not only one part of it. That way you will create less gaps, while you will also have more players to switch to put more pressure on the opponent. Basically it helps you to reduce the error frequency of you and your AI players. You know what will also stabilize your defense? Watching the first videos of this series, How to Defend Like an Elite Player, if you haven't already. Putting all this and also the upcoming concepts together will help you to elevate your understanding of FIFA and to improve your defending skills tremendously. So make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell to not miss any of the upcoming videos. Another great way of improving, if not the best and most efficient one, is to get your private coach helping you on an individual level. Check out our website at which you can book your elite, top 200 or pro player to get your individual coaching tailored to your specific needs. You can find the link in the video description as well as all the other stuff mentioned before. Alright, I'm done. Thanks for watching, keep a clean sheet, I'm out.